This video is going to walk you through the basic features of LAMP, and we're going to go, this particular video is going to be looking at the settings. And you activate the settings by going to the menu here in the upper right corner and tapping on it, and then going down to settings. When you get there, you can see that there's a line there that says save profile. So if you are an individual who uses your device for multiple individuals, such as maybe a speech therapy provider or a classroom teacher, then you can have the individual student's profile set up on your device and be able to easily load or toggle between them by going to save profile to save it and then load profile to load the one that you want to use. On the navigation, you're going to see that button click sound, and some of our students like to have the extra feedback of the button click. I, as you can see, leave mine turned on, and that works well for me. So I like to have that little click when I've activated a button, and you'll see as we're working, you'll hear that little click as we hit the button. The page size or status bar, some of this has to do with some other things on like a computer basis, and we won't really be using them. So we're not going to use these particular items today. You can have a key guard inset that is turned on, but that's mostly in a dedicated device. So again, we're going to skip that for now because we don't really need to use that on our iPads. When you look at editing, some of our students accidentally get into the editing, and it can mess up their vocabulary. So if you don't want them to be able to edit, and you just want to, as a parent, be able to edit, or as a provider be able to edit, then you can put a menu passcode in there and turn that menu passcode on. And that way you'd have to use your menu passcode in order to get into the menu or into the vocabulary, which you see in that upper left corner. The next area we have is speech, and it's here that we can choose the voices that we use. Now, your voices on your individual devices may be a little bit different, but you can see the ones with the little cloud and the download are the ones that are available for you to go ahead and download and use on your device. If you touch the speaker next to it, you will hear the
Hello
voice
there, I'm
speak.
Damien. I like music and playing with my nephews. It took me more time than expected to finish the recordings because I had to Google few facts that were new to me, all from my nephews. Of course, hope you like my voice.
So then you would just choose that voice by double tapping on it, and you can adjust the rate and the pitch by going to those next areas. If your student is using auditory support, so they're low vision and they're using or they're scanning, you can use this secondary language voice. The other individuals who use that are the students who are second language. And so this is a bilingual device, English and Spanish, and we can choose one of the Spanish voice engines. And down in the lower part of this, as you continue to scroll, you'll find some Spanish voices that you can use and set up for your, there they are, your Spanish language learners. Again, you're going to look for the ones with the cloud that show that you can download them. So Enrique is one, Conchita is one that we can download. And if you have a need for something different, just let me know. But that's where you can get them. And that's where you would put that. And then we have up here, as we scroll down, the speech display bar, and that's this bar at the top that will show the vocabulary that's being selected. And some of these things have to do, again, with computer interface, and we're just going to skip them because our students aren't generally speaking using this for computer interface. So we're going to not get into that with this today. But here we have the speech settings, and so you can have it speak characters. If your student is a text user, they might want to have it say the letters as they're typing them. Speaking words, so anytime there's a space or you've made a selection on a button, it would say that word. You can have it speak the whole sentence so that once they insert the punctuation mark, they would be able to, it would read out the sentence. And what we tend to do is have it at speak words, and then when they've completed their sentence, we touch the top bar, which is the speech bar, and it will say the whole, everything that's up in that speech bar. The grammar prediction and things like that are on there, and that has to do again with when you're using the keyboard. There is a data logging capability, and some of that is not really useful because when we're doing a lot of heavy modeling, you can't really tell who's doing the speaking. So let's say we're teaching a child how to create a phrase or a sentence, and we had the logging on. It would show our work, but that wouldn't necessarily mean that the student had done that by themselves. So the logging does have some capability, but it's mostly used in research. So it's not as helpful for us in our purposes with our students. The button activation is something that does come in handy for us as occupational therapists and as speech therapy and classroom teacher providers, because we can look at the success that the student has in activating a button on this size of a screen. So you can see there the first thing is activate on release. So in the default setting is for the button to activate when you touch down on it. And so as soon as you touch a button, it's going to say whatever it is. Activate on release means that you can drag across the screen, and wherever you release your finger, it's going to say whatever word you were on at that point. So if an individual has some motor impairment, activate on release is sometimes a good option that will give them access to a lot more buttons on a screen with more success. The dwell time has to do with an alternative access user, and it can be set for the length of time that the individual is able to use it. So again, that's more on a dedicated device that's able to use eye gaze. And if the user dwells on that spot for a period of time, then the button would automatically activate. It is something that could be used on an iPad if you were using switch access, but it's not something that is typical and would take some extra training to set up. The release time has to do also with how long a person, if they've touched a button, how long they have to sustain their touch on that button in order to get the button to activate. The highlight touch means that it's going to activate and show a highlight of what you have hit. And then the blank button fill color just means that wherever there isn't a word in a space, then it's going to have a white, in this case, a white background. So that's where those are, and that's what those particular settings mean. Let's move back here. I just lost my place here. So these other areas, the social networking, and we don't really use that, but it does allow you to interact with people through the app. And then the select amp and setup amp has to do with the amplification for an individual with hearing impairment. So you can touch on that, and you can, it will search for a Bluetooth device, and if it's a switch interface or amplification, then it will connect with that Bluetooth setting. And lastly, but not leastly, scanning enabled. Again, if you are a scanner and unable to physically touch the screen, you can click that button, turn on scanning enabled, and now there's a variety of switches that you can attach to your device in order to activate it when you can't touch it with your fingers for whatever reason. So again, there is an option that you can use for with alternative peripherals, with switch access and with the head pointing and eye gaze, but there's also ways to use assistive touch to make it more accessible, and then you can use those release times and activate on release. So there's a lot of accessibility options that are built into these settings. So just because you think an individual might not be able to touch an iPad the way that perhaps you do, doesn't eliminate this from the possibilities for them. So check out those settings and see if they can help your client or give you better access and more success and accuracy. If you need help with it, don't hesitate to contact me at Eileen Garza at tomballisd.net. Thank you.